Right, and welcome back from that break. Beyond the bank alert, will better pay yield better security? And that's the question we're asking. As part of this conversation, we will be having Yakubu Dati, Chairman of the Governing Council for the Federal Polytechnic Ayede in Oyo State. Mr. Yakubu Dati, thank you for joining us on the program all the way from our studios in Abuja. As I bring you into this conversation, we also talked about, the government increasing the budgetary allocation to military spending and all that. Extra 264 billion naira annual wage bill. How do you think this will work without worsening the national budget deficit? How do you respond to critics who claim that the massive rise is a political strategy to secure the military's loyalty ahead of the elections next year?
Well, thank you very much. I think first and foremost, we need to applaud, look at the whole increase in salary in a broader perspective. You recall that just recently, President Bola Tinubu expanded the number of divisions from 8 to 12 divisions. So we can look at this from a broader perspective where you look at efforts being made to improve the capacity of our military men who are always in the front lines. And this increment in salary will not only boost their morale and motivate them and also create safety nets for their health, education of their children, and better standards of living, but also be able to assist even those who fall on the wayside in the frontiers of war, to be able for the families to continue to grow. So that in itself is very key and important. And I also want to say the concerns being raised about how to draw from the budgetary provisions to be able to meet up with that. It's very easy. We have seen a lot of turnaround, especially in the area of revenue generation, tax reforms, oil revenues. So all that is needed is a tighter strategy to ensure that the leakages are blocked. Already we've seen the performance of the chairman of the Nigerian Revenue Service under Dr. Zak Adedeji, where our revenue from 2023 rose from 12 trillion to about 26 trillion. That's about 128% performance. So looking at that trajectory, it is clear that there is going to be an increment in the income for government such that we'll be able to cushion the effect of this increment. Of course, the increment is about 264 billion naira, but you put it side by side with the benefit, it far outweighs the benefit, because we are talking about our military men who are in the front lines, and we are looking at even how the bandits, kidnappers and all that has harvested trillions of naira from innocent victims of Nigeria. So whatever action that is being taken to secure the lives of Nigerians, to also make Nigerians be able to go out and fend for their living should be applauded. And that in itself shows that the government is taking it ahead and ensuring that appropriate strategies are put in place to ensure that those who are in the front lines are given adequate motivation, are given rest of mind, and the standard of their livelihood is improved such that they will be able to give their best to the country.
Mr. Dati, apologies, but there are also concerns, that there could be a possibility from those who are fighting, quote, lesser wars, but fighting all the same to keep communities safe, such as the paramilitary, customs, police, and other security agencies, that they may actually raise concerns that, we also want to increase in our salaries as well, because we are also working to keep communities safe. There have been talks about interagency collaboration and all that, so such that it's not just the military that are working, but everybody else is working hand in hand to keep communities safe. Do you think that's going to be a big issue in the future?
I believe that in itself is an encouragement that the government is also looking further towards ensuring that all the security agencies, including the police especially, the customs and other paramilitary, the forest guards who are also form part of the joint task force will also reach out to them. But I also think that the administration, in its wisdom, is also being careful about sending shocks into the system, such that they may want to take it one step at a time. But basically, what the focus we are seeing is that there's a deliberate effort to ensure that the issue of security, insecurity that people, that is been a challenge for a long time in the country, is being addressed frontally, structurally by this government, and that in itself deserves a lot of support and commendation. And don't also forget that this is not only the first time we've had such increases. Shortly after the Civil War, there was an increase due to operational realities and the increment in the number of armed forces. In the 70s, there was also such increment. In the 80s, it also happened. In the 2000s, there was the consolidated armed forces salary system, which ensured that improvements were done not only in salaries but also in allowances of the men who have been in the front line. And that in itself shows that government is responding and also confronting the inflation and the challenges that have to do with daily livings, which, because whether you are military or not, we go to the same market, and those pressures that comes from inflation affects us all. Also, most importantly, is that this increment will also check corruption, because by the time the officers have enough to be able to run their issues, challenges of health, insurance, education for their children, they'll be less tempted to succumb to corruptive tendencies. And that is why a lot of applaud is coming in, because even though we don't actually know the number, the salaries of the present men in the Air Force, but we know that the salaries range between about 100,000 or thereabout. Now with this increment, you are talking of a rise to almost 250,000. And we are talking about 80% increment from men of the private to the sergeant, and then 50% from warrant officers to colonels, and then 30% for the generals and above. So it's a stagnated improvement to ensure that those who are the lower cadre are given what can a salary that will be able to motivate them, that will be able to also assist in ensuring that their families are catered for, so that they will be able to face the challenges ahead and boost their morale, boost their productivity, and also ensure that they are not tempted by corrupt practices. And I believe that subsequently, the police who are also in the front line will also be looked into, as well as, like I said, other paramilitary forces that are also in the front line. And that itself means that at least we are taking steps towards a particular direction that is showing structural adjustments to confront with the present security challenges confronting the country.
What would you want to see when we talk about operational expenses, building better infrastructure that protects our men that are on the front line?
Well, I think first and foremost, I'd like to state that before you even talk about the other things that will support infrastructure, you must be able to ensure that the man on the front line is highly motivated, he's ready, he's even alive to face those and enjoy those infrastructure. And that is why it is important to commend the administration of Chief Tinubu for taking this step. You recall that we have had several presidents who had come even from military background. None of them has been able to astronomically increase the salaries of frontliners like this president has done, number one. Number two, is also important to clarify at this point that the starting point for the implementation is 1st of September. Mr. President has given clear directives. So this fear of when will it be implemented, when will it start, does not arise, because there is a clear presidential directives. Most importantly also is that this increment will also increase, make the military more attractive to higher level of people with higher qualifications. In other words, it will improve the recruitment process and ensure that we have higher caliber of people in the military who will also improve and increase the standard and operational procedures of our military. I also want to state that we should also look at this, like I said earlier, from a wider perspective. You recall that Mr. President, like I said earlier, has increased the number of divisions from 8 to 12. This is unprecedented. This is like 80% increment of the divisions. He has also increased the number of intakes even across the other security agencies. So I believe what we should also ask now is to challenge the military officers and men who are in the front line, who are direct beneficiaries of this gesture, to ensure that they reciprocate so that we'll begin to experience less attacks, we'll also experience more cooperation. And like people are also saying, there is a need to also look at what the other security agencies, to ensure that they also come in, because most times, like what happened in Ogbomoso, we had a joint security operations where not only the military were involved, the police were there as the front line, we had the civil defense, we had the forest guards, we had Amotikun. So all these are people that operate in the same circumstances. And I believe that subsequently, the National Security Advisor, Malanu Ribadu, who is doing a good job of coordinating these security agencies, will also move on to ensure that this benefits to the military will trickle down to other services, such that we'll be able to have a joint security system where information, intelligence-driven security strategy will also drive this process. I also happy that the military, especially the retired major on this program, who is also bringing the issue, is understandable, and we appreciate. You also know that by the time you bring a retired police officer, a retired civil defense officer, you find that they will also speak from their own point. But the point remains is that a step has been taken in the area of catering for the military. And I believe that the next few months or days to come, we will begin to see reciprocity from the military, where the moral booster will begin to show in the area of defense for the ordinary Nigerians and their motivation to serve. And also, most importantly, is that as we continue in this journey, it also shows that Mr. President is also prioritizing the issue of security. Because don't forget that as a president, you have issues of education, chasing funds, health, and all that. And also to add to what the other speaker said, we have had programs that also the military families benefit, like the NEL Fund. The children of the military are also beneficiaries of those sort of safety nets that are able to reach not only to a particular area, but to the generality of Nigerians. So I believe that we'll be able to see a lot of increment in the area of operational, standard operational procedures of the military. And then also important to state at this point that the increment in salary also comes with the increment, I believe, with allowances. So you are saying that you are making the military more attractive, which will bring in higher level and higher standards and ensure that very important personnel are also kept within the system to be able to improve the military.